Shabbat Shalom. Our scripture reading for today is Jeremiah chapter 4, verses 19 and 21. My bowels, I am pained at my very heart. My heart makes a noise in me. I cannot hold my peace because you have heard, O my soul, the sound of the trumpet. How long shall I see the standard and hear the song of the trumpet?
Shabbat Shalom, family. Our selection today, Steal Away.
Green trees are bending, for sinners stand a-trembling. The trumpet sounds within my soul. It's in my soul. Tombstones are bursting, for sinners stand a-trembling. The trumpet sounds within my soul.
Who am I? I am somebody. I come from a long line of kings and queens. I come from an ancient people dating back before record times. I come from a people of 12 tribes. They were noblemen, warriors, and scribes. I come from a people who lived in their own land until the hand of their creator caused them to be removed and disbanded. I come from a people whose names have meaning. If you look up my name, you'll find it unseemingly. I come from a people whose father was the prince of Egypt, a land that was strange and distant from my original people. I come from a people who vary in shades. I come from a people whose mothers were maids. I come from a people who are black and comely. I come from a people who've learned to walk humbly. I come from a people who are black and beautiful. I come from a people who've not always been dutiful. But most of all, I come from a people who are beautifully black. I come from a people who in the process of time have lost some facts. I come from a people whose hair varies in length. I come from a people whose skin has bruises and dents. I come from a people who are very, very strong, in spite of all the mental anguish, physical abuse, and outright wrong. I come from a people who constantly sang, "We shall overcome someday." We have held on in light of adversity, knowing that one day it'll be our way. I come from a people who in time past had a lot of soul, rhythm, and class. As I close my line of things that's past, present, and future, this is the sum of what I consider to be crucial. I am not what you see or what you think, nor am I the money I have stashed in several banks. I am not my hair or the color of my skin. I am what you can't see deep within. Elder Yerushaddai Ben Yisrael.
Part in our progress, we're trying to get it to get a lot of different things as far as our poems to run a little bit smoother. But praise Yahweh for the poem and the song. We want to begin tonight's sermon in Leviticus. I just want to read something here. You don't have to go there. Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, shall you have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets and holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein, but you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. So this Feast of Trumpets is a memorial of blowing of trumpets. When we do the research about the trumpet, we find that it is the sound of Yahweh's voice. So this memorial is all about us learning to not just hear the voice of Yahweh, but to react. Now, a very loud trumpet, there's power in that voice. A lot of times when we hear a powerful voice, we either get afraid, annoyed, angry. We have all of these different emotions when there's power in the voice. But Yahweh's voice has power in it. And if we're going to deal with a memorial of blowing the trumpets, then that is a memorial of learning to move when we hear the voice of Yahweh. And it matters when we move. The children of Israel were told to go up and take this land. They began to be afraid and refused to move. Afterwards, they changed their mind and then decided to go. But Yahweh was done then. He was not allowing them to then hear his voice. So it matters when we hear the voice of Yahweh that we move right then and there. But the voice of Yahweh may not always be a pleasant thing to hear, depending on the situation and circumstances that he is dealing with when he speaks. Let's go to Numbers chapter 10. And understanding that he has to do a great relocation of the children of Israel, according to what's written in this book. He says, I'm going to do this the second time to recover the remnant of the children of Israel from all the places wherein they were scattered. So if he's going to utter his voice, 9 times out of 10, it won't be a soft, pleasant voice that we're about to hear. Because at this point, he's talking about moving all of his people to a place, and they all need to start moving. So how do you speak when you need everybody in your house to move right now? Do you come with the soft voice? Do you come with the, it really don't matter if you listen to me right now. What voice do you use when you need everybody to leave and you need everybody to leave right now? Are we preparing ourselves to hear that voice? Because if we are offended by everything, what are you going to do when your Elohim raises his voice? Because he don't need you to think. He don't need you to process. He don't need you to try to figure out how to get there. He needs you to move right then. Are you preparing yourself to hear such a voice? And have we been lulled to sleep by all the people who pleasantly say, I talked to God last night? So it's this pleasant conversation that they keep speaking of. But when he gets ready to move people out of different nations simultaneously, how calm can that voice be? Numbers chapter 10, let's start at verse 1.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Make you 2 trumpets of silver. Of a whole piece shall you make them, that you may use them for the calling of the assembly and for the journeying of the camp.
So when the sound is made, you move. Are we getting ourselves accustomed to that when Yahweh speaks, we stop whatever that is that we're doing and we move? But in some of those, instances, we're going to be doing something that we want to do. We're going to be in the midst of achieving something that we want to achieve. What may cause us to say, you know what, I don't want to stop right now. I don't want to deal with Yahweh right now. Go ahead.
And when they shall blow with them, all the assembly shall assemble themselves to you at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation.
Whenever that cloud moved in that whip, they had to go. They had to start packing. See, the fire in the cloud is still. They know that they can be still. As soon as it starts moving, they know it's time to pack up everything. But you have to consider that everybody was not happy about packing up moving. See, we have a tendency to get complacent because we get comfortable where we are at that moment. So Yahweh doesn't take a consensus to see if you're happy. The cloud just start moving. At that point, go ahead and start breaking down everything that you got to, this packing time. Because that cloud is going to stay there as long as it takes to pack. And Yahweh know how long it takes to pack. Go ahead.
And if they blow but with 1 trumpet, then the princes, which are heads of the thousands of Israel, shall gather themselves unto you. When you blow an alarm, then the camps that lie on the east part shall go forward. When you blow an alarm the second time, then the camps that lie on the south side shall take their journey. They shall blow an alarm for their journeys. But when the congregation is to be gathered together, you shall blow, but you shall not sound an alarm.
Consider how powerful this trumpet represents the voice of Yahweh. Consider this. We're talking 1 sound and everybody on the left know what to do. 2 sounds, everybody on the right know what to do. A lot of times when we're doing something, we need somebody to convince us, so we need a whole lot more words. Yahweh not giving us all that. He not giving you 10, 12 paragraphs to convince you that you should listen to what he's saying. When you hear this sound, move. Go ahead.
And the sons of Aaron, the priests, shall blow with the trumpets, and they shall be to you for an ordinance forever throughout your generations. And if you go to war in your land against the enemy that oppress you, then you shall blow an alarm with the trumpets, and you shall be remembered before Yahweh your Elohim, and you shall be saved from your enemies.
So the trumpet contains the sound of his voice, and you need to sound the trumpet when you are then calling him if it's war. If you need to be protected, you need to know how to call him. How many people even have their own shofar at their house? I mean, are we thinking that, war is going to start, but we'll all be together? What's the chances? If we are to call Yahweh with the shofar, shouldn't we have our own? I mean, there's one that's for the sanctuary, but where yours at? That's for official business. You might have you some personal business through the week. Go ahead.
Also in the day of your gladness and in your solemn days and in the beginning of your months, you shall blow with trumpets over your burnt offerings and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, that they may be to you for a memorial before your Elohim. I am Yahweh, your Elohim.
Now, if it's set to be a memorial, you are getting accustomed to this order. This is why we do things. We don't just perform these acts just to be performing something. The memorial is to get you ready so that it is sealed in your spirit that this is just automatic. Now, the nations have done that with us. When you hear that Star Spangled Banner, stand up, put your hand over your heart. Well, they are programming you. This is what's supposed to happen when you hear this song. Let's go to Exodus chapter 19. So Yahweh is trying to get us accustomed to hearing his voice and then moving accordingly. And as we grow in Yahweh, Yahweh grows in how he deals with us. The children of Israel in the wilderness were very carnal, with basically no understanding of Yahweh. I mean, they just came out of Egypt. What could they understand? What could they know? So it was necessary to have a fire and a cloud. They could actually see the Spirit of Yahweh. They could see the Spirit move. Yahweh is not going to give us a cloud and a fire. You're going to have to feel him move. See, we have this. They didn't. You don't get to have this and get a fire and a cloud. Go ahead, bro.
Exodus chapter 19 and verse 1. In the 3rd month, when the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai. For they were departed from Rephidim, and were come to the desert of Sinai, and had pitched in the wilderness, and there Israel camped before the mount. And Moshe went up unto Elohim, And Yahweh called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shall you say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, You have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine.
Now, if you will obey my voice. Now, where this goes on another level and starts to get intricate is because then Yahweh will place his word in the mouth of one of his servants. So you will then hear it from a servant, not directly from Yahweh. Now, here we go back to the feel part. If you are physically listening for the trumpet to come out of a man's mouth to recognize whether it is of Yahweh, you have a problem. Because this is the point where you feel the Spirit, not see it. Go ahead.
And you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests, and an holy nation. These are the words which you shall speak unto the children of Israel. And Moshe came and called for the elders of the people, and laid before their faces all these words which Yahweh commanded him. And all the people answered together, and said, All that Yahweh has spoken we will do. And Moshe returned the words of the people unto Yahweh. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Lo, I come unto you in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with you, and believe you forever. And Moshe told the words of the people unto Yah.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Lo, I come unto you in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with you, and believe you forever. They need to see this so that they can believe you. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Go unto the people, and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes, and be ready against the third day. For the third day Yahweh will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai. And you shall set bonds unto the people round about, saying, Take heed to yourself that you go not up into the mount, or touch the border of it. Whosoever touches the mount shall be surely put to death. There shall not an hand touch it, but he shall surely be stoned or shot through. Whether it be beast or man, it shall not live. When the trumpet sounds long, they shall come up to the mount.
So if the trumpet sounds long, it gets to a point where this is a fearful event. Around yesterday, I had a few men together. We was doing some work, and a good clap of thunder happened, and the biggest brother out there was already halfway to the car. It was a done deal. He didn't want to discuss much. Just drop off the key, leave, and set yourself free. He was out of there. Just the power we're talking about. This when they are getting this, you talking about thunder, lightning, earthquake, and then the sound of the trumpet. He is showing you the power of his voice so that we might respect it. But he's not going to keep doing that. We have to learn how to obey when it is a soft, still voice. The last thing we need is for Yahweh to bring lightning, thunders, quakes, fire. We shouldn't need that. The people who didn't know anything about Yahweh needed that. Go ahead. Did you finish that?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go to Ezekiel chapter 3. Chapter 33, I'm sorry. And how we know that the level steps up when the angel told Yohanan's parents that this was going to happen. This woman was going to have this baby, and the father was a priest. And that father said, wherewith shall I know that this will happen? You know, okay. So you a priest and you gonna ask me how you gonna know? I'm gonna show you how you gonna know. You're not gonna say another word until it come to pass. Now why did he do him so harshly? We read in this book, women ask questions, other people ask questions. They didn't get dealt with like that. But this was a priest who asked the angel a question. And the question was one with doubt. And it was one with doubt because of the physical limitations of what is being told to him. Yahweh didn't care the reasons. The angel didn't care the reasons. You ask this question and you're supposed to be at this level. You ain't gonna talk again until it happens. And we can tell that Yahshua operated on the same level. He said, have you call yourself masters of Israel and you don't know this? Go ahead.
Ezekiel chapter 33 and verse 1. Again the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, speak to the children of your people, and say unto them, when I bring the sword upon a land, if the people of the land take a man of their coast and set him for their watchman, if when he sees the sword come upon the land, he blow the trumpet and warn the people, then whosoever hears the sound of the trumpet and takes not warning, if the sword come and take him away, his blood shall be upon his own head.
So then, if you have this watchman, verse 3, if when he sees the sword come upon the land, he blows the trumpet. He mimics the voice of Yahweh. You are supposed to hear the voice of Yahweh and move. Go ahead.
He heard the sound of the trumpet and took not warning. His blood shall be upon him. But he that takes warning shall deliver his soul.
Wait a minute. Verse 5, he heard the sound of the trumpet and took not warning. In other words, he disregarded Yahweh's voice. He heard the voice of Yahweh, but he disregarded it. He did not hear it. He heard it and disregarded it. Go ahead.
But if the watchmen see the sword come and blow not the trumpet, and the people be not warned, if the sword come and take any person from among them, he is taken away in his lawlessness. But his blood will I require at the watchman's hand.
His blood will be required at the watchman's hands because the watchman's job was to sound that alarm. What would cause a watchman not to sound the alarm? I mean, they see the danger. Keep reading.
So you, O son of man, I have set you a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore you shall hear the word at my mouth and warn them from me.
Wait a minute. So now we're not talking about the trumpet. You hear the word and then go warn them from me. Wait a minute. His voice is now the trumpet. Are you able to then hear those words in your spirit and then move accordingly? This is where things get interesting, because understand the adversary of the devil will try too. We know the one, the lying prophet that said, I'm a prophet too. Yahweh said, don't do such and such. A fake prophet said, well, I'm a prophet of Yahweh too. And then he hearkened to the prophet. Yahweh killed him. Because you hearken unto that lie. Now the interesting part, the lying prophet still live. But the one who listened to the liar died. Go ahead.
When I say unto the wicked, O wicked man, you shall surely die. If you does not speak to warn the wicked from his way, that wicked man shall die in his lawlessness, but his blood will I require at your hand.
Let's say it's not even about dying. if Yahweh wants you to warn somebody about something that they're doing. But then you might suffer a rebuke for saying that. So you have to ask yourself, why would, if Yahweh says, warn that wicked man or that wicked woman that they might die, why would he not do it? Because we're worried about what's going to come back at us if we follow what Yahweh is getting us to do. This may be very difficult to go and say. A lot of times we read this, but we don't put ourselves in the shoes of this individual. That means go over there, tell that person you like that if they don't stop what they're doing, death is on the way. Some of us, we can go say that to our enemy. We just can't go say that to our friend. We just can't go say that to somebody we love. Go ahead.
Nevertheless, if you warn the wicked of his way to turn from it, if he do not turn from his way, he shall die in his lawlessness, but you have delivered your soul.
You only have delivered your soul if you follow the instructions that were given unto you. You have not delivered your soul if you just stand there and do the I'm going to stay neutral thing. You have not delivered your soul. Go ahead.
That was it. Verse 9.
Keep going.
Okay. Therefore, O you son of man, speak unto the house of Israel. Thus you speak, saying, if our transgression and our sins be upon us, and we pine away in them, how should we then live? Say unto them, as I live, says the Adonai Elohim, I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but that the wicked turn from his way and live. Turn you from your evil ways. For why will you die, O house of Israel?
He says, I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked. See, this is where we falter, because once we know something is of the wicked sort, we want it to be dealt with. Yahweh would rather have it changed. But how does it change if the trumpet is not blown? How does it change if it is not spoken to concerning its actions? How does it change? Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Somewhere in that process is something uncomfortable. And if we avoid every bit of discomfort, there is an enormous amount of growth that we're never going to have. Because growth comes in discomfort. You know, you hear people talking about growing pains. We're talking about bones moving. At some point, they've got to ache. First Corinthians chapter 15, and let's read 50 through 58.
Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of Elohim, neither does corruption inherit incorruption. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed.
Wait a minute. The dead shall hear the trumpet. The dead are going to recognize those who have the ear to hear, will hear the voice of their Elohim and awaken out of their sleep. How powerful does a voice have to be to wake the dead? But what do we do when we hear a powerful voice? Do we get angry? Do we get sad? Does it make us want to cry? What do we do? And if you want to look at a real contrast, look at some kids who have only been talked to by a female and have never gotten instructions from a man. Men don't tend to sugarcoat the instructions. Women will give the instructions in a very nice way. And they'll say, oh my God, that was really nice. But what is that individual being prepared for? Now, is Yahweh going to speak to that individual? Now, this individual has heard nice things all of their existence. And then one day they hear Yahweh speak. What are they going to do? Go ahead.
For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is your sting? O grave, where is your victory? The sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin is the law. But thanks be to Elohim, which gives us the victory through our Adonai Yahshua HaMashiach. Therefore, my beloved brethren, be you steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Adonai, for as much as you know that your labor is not in vain in the Adonai.
All right, let's go to Revelation chapter 8. See, what has caused us the most issues is the representation of God as love. It keeps giving us this picture of this very soft God who loves everybody. And of course, he's love. He's also war. He's also laughter. He's also anger. He's also hatred. He's also whatever you come with, he that. That's why his name is I am. Whatever you bringing, I'm that. Whatever you need, I'm that. So anything after I am is actually a little bit of a box. It says he is extolled by his name Yah. I am. That's it. You don't need nothing else after that. That's why I don't go into all of that. Well, his name is this, his name is that. Do it have Yah in it? You can't limit him. Go ahead, brother.
And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw the 7 angels which stood before Elohim, and to them were given 7 trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer, and there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne.
Now, that he should offer it with the prayers of all the saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. Now, the children of Israel are called with the blowing of the trumpet, but now we have 7 angels. Now, those trumpets were blown by priests. So what must be the authoritative level of these angels who have the trumpet? See, everybody might have their own trumpet or shofar for their house. But when you're talking about the official ones, those are blown by the priests. Well, now you have these angels who have these, they have some sort of different level of authority. Go ahead.
And the smoke of the incense, which came with the prayers of the saints, ascended up before Elohim out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire off the altar and cast it into the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake.
The same things that we read in Exodus when Yahweh started talking. Go ahead.
And the 7 angels which had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth. And the third part of trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up.
So whatever these trumpets are tuned to sound, whatever note they're hitting, everything that is supposed to go moves when it hears that sound. So that trumpet plays a certain sound. Go ahead.
And the second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood. And the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And the third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter.
So this third trumpet, the sound or the tune of it directly deals with the waters. So the third trumpet only deals with the waters. It doesn't do the same thing that the first trumpet. The first trumpet didn't activate the punishment of the third. They are reacting to the instruction, specific instruction of that trumpet. Go ahead.
And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars. So as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. And I beheld, and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the 3 angels, which are yet to sound.
The other voices of the trumpet of the 3 angels. So there are several more notes that have to be played. And it's not as the trumpet blows and then everything happens all at once. It goes specifically and it follows the instructions that it was given from that trumpet. Saul said he had obeyed the voice of Yahweh, but he didn't follow the specific instructions. That's something that we have to consider. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 1. Proverbs chapter 1. And I want you to start that at verse 20.
Wisdom cries without, she utters her voice in the streets. She cries in the chief place of concourse, in the openings of the gates. In the city she utters her words, saying, How long, you simple ones, will you love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit onto you. I will make known my words unto you. Because I have called, and you refused. I have stretched out my hand, and no man regarded. But you have set at naught all my counsel, and would none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity.
Wait a minute. So now Yahweh is saying, I'm going to deal with this according to how you dealt with it. Now, it might be some span in between when he spoke to us and when we needed him. So by that time, we have forgotten how disrespectful we might have been to him when we are in need. See, we just assume because these things are written one verse to the next verse that that's how that's going to happen. No, 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 no. You might perform one action in this decade, but then you need Yahweh in another decade. He hasn't forgotten. Go ahead.
I will mock when your fear comes.
I will mock when your fear comes. Why? Because when my voice was uttered, you paid me no attention. My voice didn't activate you. Go ahead.
When your fear comes as desolation, and your destruction comes as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish comes upon you, then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer.
Then they want to call on me. So if this is a memorial of blowing of trumpets, it is a memorial about learning how to move when we are instructed. Because what happens when our fear comes and we start calling upon him, how difficult or how long will it be before he moves? So consider, Yahweh gets us to move and we say, well, no, well, I want to do this. Well, show me this. We'll make the ground dry right here. I tell you what, we'll make it wet over here. I tell you what, make it dry and wet at the same place. All right. Then you call Yahweh and you on your deathbed, breathing and panting, Yahweh, I need you, I need you. Well, show me wherewith you need me. I'm out of air. Well, show me where the air missing at. Is it in the top lung, the lower lung, the left lung, or the right one? Point to it. What? They got my hands tied. Yahweh, I can't point. What draw me a picture? Yahweh, why you asking me all these questions? I need you right now. Well, I mean, what? How did this thing happen? When did it happen? Let's talk. Now, I'm kind of out of air. And I need you right now, Yahweh. I need you right now. I need you this second, this instant, this moment. Okay, well, let's talk about it. Why are we talking? What? Ain't that what you did when I needed you? Ain't that what you told me? Is that not what you told me? Well, I'm just giving you what you gave me. Go ahead.
You know, with his true servants, what he said? Yahweh sent me before your prayer was even ended.
Yep. You ain't even said amen. You ain't said amen, but you look to the left and there's amen. Right. Right. Go ahead.
They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. For they that hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of Yahweh, they would none of my counsel. They despised all my reproof.
With none of my counsel. Despised my reproof. Why? Reproof, wait a minute. Reproof is correction. So he attempted to correct them and they felt some kind of way about the correction. They didn't believe that the correction was pure. They didn't believe that the correction was valid. Go ahead.
Because that correction came from a man.
Exactly. Yahweh didn't float down here to correct them. He sent a man to correct them. And you know the first thing we do, we look at something wrong with that man. See, if we can find something wrong with the man that Yahweh used to correct us, then we can, in our mind, invalidate the correction. See? And you know, we look hard enough, we can find something. We can always find something. Go ahead.
Therefore shall they eat of the fruit of their own way and be filled with their own devices. For the turning away of the simple shall slay them, and the prosperity of fools shall destroy them. But whoso hearkens unto me shall dwell safely, and shall be quiet from fear of evil.
Whosoever hearkens. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 7. Some things are easier said, or more like it's easy to say those things until the event shows up at our address. I remember a brother telling another brother, brother, you need to just endure. And then that brother went through hell, and he had to remember what he told the other brother. It's different when kind of your dough. It's different. It's poetic when it have a neck though. It's poetic as hell. You said, brother, thou art thou, thee thine litherest. You should endure, my brethren. Yeah, then when hell knock on your door, you need to tell yourself that same thing. Thy, thee, thine litherest. You need to endure, my brother. You look right in that mirror. Go ahead and say it. Right. Go ahead.
Jeremiah chapter 7 and verse 1. The word that came to Jeremiah from Yahweh, saying, stand in the gate of Yahweh's house, and proclaim there this word, and say, hear the word of Yahweh, all you of Yehudah that enter in at these gates to worship Yahweh. Thus says Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, amend your ways and your doings, and I'll cause you to dwell in this place. Trust you not in lying words, saying, the temple of Yahweh, the temple of Yahweh, the temple of Yahweh are these.
Now, what is he talking about? They are so directed toward the temple in its existence that it means more than the principles that it's built upon. They're more interested in the temple itself than the principles that they're supposed to be learning out of the temple. It's like the individuals that are so pushed on fringes that they forget what the fringes represent. So you see somebody with one of them fringe shirts, and then they got a fake picture of their leader, and he's made out to be Christ. So they got a fringe shirt that's supposed to remind them to keep the law, but then got an idol on the shirt that's supposed to remind them to keep the law. Don't look like they remember. Why? Because the fringe has become the law, not the part of what it is supposed to represent. So here, the temple are these. They don't care about doing right. They care that there's an edifice, that there's a building, that there are events that they can take part in, and that has become weightier than the things that they're supposed to be dealing with. That's why Yahshua said, you tithe mint a knees and coming, but have omitted the weightier matters of the law. Go ahead.
For if you thoroughly amend your ways and your doings, if you thoroughly execute judgment between a man and his neighbor, if you oppress not the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, and shed not innocent blood in this place, neither walk after other gods to your hurt.
So now he's getting personal. And that's the thing that really causes us some issues. Once it starts to get personal, we say, "Oh no, I don't want to deal with this. It's too personal when it comes down to that." No. If you thoroughly amend your ways, go ahead.
Then will I cause you to dwell in this place, in the land that I gave to your fathers forever and ever. Behold, you trust in lying words that cannot profit. Will you steal, murder, and commit adultery, and swear falsely, and burn incense onto Baal, and walk after other gods whom you know not, and come and stand before me in this house, which is called by my name, and say, we're delivered to do all these abominations? Is this house, which is called by my name, become a den of robbers in your eyes? Behold, even I have seen it, says Yahweh. But go you now on to my place which was in Shiloh, where I set my name at the first, and see what I did to it for the wickedness of my people Israel.
Right. See what I did to it. You think that I will just uphold it even though you don't do the things that I'm trying to get you to do, you think I'm just going to uphold it? I tell you what, go to the first place. Go ahead.
And now, because you have done all these works, says Yahweh, and I spake unto you, rising up early and speaking, but you heard not, and I called you, but you answered not.
Now, wait a minute. Well, once again, like Priest Kish said, verse 13. And now because you have done all these works, says Yahweh, and I spake unto you, rising up early and speaking. Wait a minute. He rose up early and he spoke through men. See, it's no more of the trumpet in its physical sound. Are you able to hear the spiritual sound of the trumpet no matter who it is that's speaking? Go ahead.
Therefore will I do unto this house, which is called by my name, wherein you trust, and unto the place which I gave to you and to your fathers, as I've done to Shiloh. And I'll cast you out of my sight, as I've cast out all your brethren, even the whole seed of Ephraim. Therefore, pray not you for this people.
Wait a minute. Now, the hearing of Yahweh is now going on another level. You would not hearken or listen the memorial of blowing of trumpets. It's a memorial of moving when we are instructed. Now, here we go, where we need something and we are asking him. Go ahead.
Therefore pray not you for this people, neither lift up cry nor prayer for them, neither make intercessions to me, for I will not hear you.
I will not hear you. Don't pray for them. Because when I spoke to them, they were unable to hear me. They were unable to receive correction. They were unable to receive direction. Don't pray for them. See, now we're talking about an intimate communication. He says they didn't listen to me. I'm not going to listen to them. I want you to read that note that's under there.
Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 4. I also will choose their delusions and will bring their fears upon them.
Wait a minute. Wait. I will choose their delusions. You can't tell them it ain't real. It's the realest thing ever. I'm going to choose it. Based on what? Did they move when I asked them to move? Did they change when I asked them to change? This is one of the characteristics when you talk about Moshe and all of the moving that he had to do. It was tumultuous, but every time Yahweh reordered his life, he went into whatever direction he had to go for Yahweh. Go ahead.
Because when I called, none did answer.
Okay.
When I spake, they did not hear. But they did evil before mine eyes and chose that which I delighted not.
Now, when we read something and it says they did evil, our mind goes into all these various places. It's did they sacrifice wrong? Did they kill? Did they steal? All you have to do evil is do other than what Yahweh said, right? If Yahweh says turn left, when you turn right, you did evil, right? See, in our mind, we have this picture painted for what evil is. All evil is other than what he told you. And if we don't understand the memorial of that, then we don't really get the memorial of blowing a trumpet. We don't really get the memorial of hearing his voice. Let's go to 2 Chronicles chapter 36. 2 Chronicles 36, and let's start that at verse 11.
Zedekiah was 120 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Yahweh his Elohim, and humbled not himself before Jeremiah the prophet, speaking from the mouth of Yahweh.
He decided he wasn't going to humble himself to Yahweh's servant. Go ahead.
And he also rebelled against King Nebuchadnezzar, who had made him swear by Elohim. But he stiffened his neck and hardened his heart from turning unto Yahweh Elohim of Israel.
Right. That sometimes, this is hurting to them. He says, go and submit yourself to Nebuchadnezzar, because this is the punishment that I'm giving to Israel. This is the direction that I'm giving you. But after your people serve this for a little while, I will redeem you. There are certain instructions that are much harder to follow than others. Go ahead.
Moreover, all the chief of the priests and the people transgressed very much after all the abominations of the heathen, and polluted the house of Yahweh which he had hallowed in Jerusalem. And Yahweh Elohim of their fathers sent to them by his messengers, rising up betimes and sending.
Now we've read that a couple times, rising up early. And Yahweh Elohim of our fathers sent to them by his messengers. He's not talking directly to you. Even if an angel comes to you, you are not directly talking to Yahweh. That angel has the right to speak in Yahweh's name. But the more, we don't really understand how this works. The people who say that they've had God, if you will, talk to them, they are making themselves the most accountable of everybody. See, the more he has given you, the more is expected of you. And if the people who claim that they have had all of these conversations, you damn well better make sure you keep working. Go ahead.
Because he had compassion on his people and on his dwelling place. But they mocked the messengers of Elohim and despised his words.
They did what?
Mocked the messengers of Elohim.
Right. So they don't believe that that's the voice of the trumpet. This is where things start to get interesting. Go ahead.
But it goes right back to now we understand why Yahweh said, I'm going to mock in the day of your problem, and I'm going to laugh at your calamity.
Right. This is what you did. But here's the thing. They think they're doing that to a man. They don't think they're mocking Elohim. They believe that they're mocking men. They don't know how it's going to be accounted unto them. Go ahead.
But they mocked the messengers of Elohim and despised his words and misused his prophets until the wrath of Yahweh arose against his people till there was no remedy. Therefore he brought upon them the king of the Chaldees, who slew their young men with the sword in the house of their sanctuary, and had no compassion upon young man or maiden, old man, or him that stooped for age. He gave them all into his hand. And all the vessels of the house of Elohim, great and small, and the treasures of the house of Yahweh, and the treasures of the king and his princes, all these he brought to Babylon. And they burnt the house of Elohim, and brake down the wall of Jerusalem, and burnt all the palaces thereof with fire, and destroyed all the goodly vessels thereof. And them that had escaped from the sword carried he away to Babylon, where they were servants to him and his sons until the reign of the kingdom of Persia, to fulfill the word of Yahweh by the mouth of Jeremiah, until the land had enjoyed her Shabbats. For as long as she lay desolate, she kept Shabbat, to fulfill the 70 years.
Right. When Yahweh has decreed that this is the timeline, this is what's going to happen. It doesn't matter who's in control or who's supposed to be the king. If he doesn't do it voluntarily, he shall be moved or removed, and somebody else will be put there to deal with it. This should get us to that place where we're keeping the memorial of blowing a trumpet is the memorial of listening to his voice. The memorial of being able to hear the voice in our heart, not with our ear. But let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Psalms 81. Psalm 81, and let's start that at verse 1.
Sing aloud unto Elohim our strength. Make a joyful noise unto the Elohim of Jacob. Take a psalm and bring hither the timbrel, the pleasant harp with the psaltery.
Now this is make a song unto Yahweh. All right, bring these instruments, sing. Let's make music unto Yahweh. But what happened when you mentioned it the other day, when King David is bringing home the ark and he's dancing? His first wife abhorred him. And all of this is happening. He is rejoicing. He is bringing home the ark of Israel. And I mean, he's doing this with all his might. And he got mocked.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed, on our solemn feast day.
Now, pause for a second. It says they mocked her prophets. Did Dawid not prophesy through his writings and songs?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can be in the midst of something and don't know what you're in the midst of.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's worse when we have personal relationships that we don't consider the job or the position. You have to think about Miriam only knew or dealt with Moshe as her little brother, until Yahweh had to show her he's more than just your brother. Go ahead.
For this was a statute for Israel and a law of the Elohim of Jacob. This he ordained in Yosef for a testimony when he went out through the land of Egypt, where I heard a language that I understood not. I removed his shoulder from the burden, his hands were delivered from the pots. You called in trouble, and I delivered you. I answered you in the secret place of thunder. I proved you at the waters of Meribah. Hear, O my people, and I'll testify unto you. O Israel, if you will hearken unto me.
If you will hearken unto me. Go ahead.
There shall no strange God be in you, neither shall you worship any strange God. I am Yahweh your Elohim, which brought you out of the land of Egypt. Open your mouth wide, and I will fill it. But my people would not hearken unto my voice, and Israel would none of me. So I gave them up unto their own heart's lust, and they walked in their own counsels.
But my people would not hearken to my voice, and Israel would none of me. So I gave them up. Go ahead.
Oh, that my people had hearkened unto me, and Israel had walked in my ways.
Oh, that my people had heard the trumpet. Oh, that my people had heard the spiritual sound of the trumpet and were able to receive my instruction. But since they didn't, now I have to do what I have to do. Go ahead.
I should soon have subdued their enemies.
I should soon have subdued their enemies. See, if they listen, I don't have any choice. I'm bound by my covenant. You understand? So if they listen, I'm obligated. Yahweh is telling you the rules of his covenant. I would soon have subdued their enemies because I wouldn't have a choice. There's a covenant, there's a contract, there's an agreement here. If they do this, I have to do that. That's why he says, things concerning my sons command you me. How do you command your Elohim? Go into the covenant. Go ahead.
And turn my hand against their adversaries. The haters of Yahweh should have submitted themselves unto him.
Right. If Yahweh got haters, what make you think you ain't going to have none? Go ahead.
But their times should have endured forever. He should have fed them also with the finest of the wheat, and with the honey out of the rock should I have satisfied you.
Right. So if we truly keep the memorial of the blowing of the trumpet, then we're keeping the memorial of listening to his voice and moving appropriately according to the sound that is being heard. Let that reside in our heart, not just having the shofar, but understanding what the shofar represents. That's all that we're going to do for tonight. Enjoy your feast and remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.